Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Hey New Orleans, get ready for some rugby. There's a new pro sports team in town, and it's Nola Gold, bringing world-class rugby to the Crescent City. The game is fast, the hits are hard, the fan experience is for real. Season tickets, lifetime tickets, and game day passes are all available at nolagoldrugby.com. I'm John Goodman, and I'll see you in the scrum.
But here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening, and welcome to the March Madness edition of Primetime Sports. I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and this is my favorite time of the year. Like many of you sports nuts out there, March Madness is when it all happens. I cannot wait for basketball to start, and it all begins tonight with those first play-in games, and then LSU plays Yale on Thursday. Let's hope they don't do a repeat of the SEC tournament where they got bounced pretty quick. They dominated that game against Florida, and they let it go and ended up losing right at the end on a couple bad calls. But the bottom line is this. LSU plays Yale. They have a guard named Mie Oni. Right there you see him. He's an NBA prospect, and he could be a double for Don Cheadle if he needed to be. But this is a guy you have to account for. Not like a normal Ivy League team where they just score about 50, 60 points. This team scores 80 to 90 almost every single game, and they've got players, and LSU's going to have their hands full. But they don't have the trio of guys that made all SEC honors, Tremont Waters being one of them. First team all SEC, also on the all defensive team because of his ball handling and steal skills. He always gets his hand on passes. Naz Reid, the freshman, he was a McDonald's All-American last year, all freshman team, and Skylar Mays, the second team all SEC and all academic as well. And the key to this is going to be using Bigby Williams in the middle. He's going to be the key to stopping Yale. And by the way, our guests tonight are both no strangers to the Final Four. Duran, Rudy, Macklin, and John Brady. One went to the Final Four in 1981. One coached it in 2006, both for the LSU Tigers. They'll be here today along with Seth Dunlap. Hey, by the way, the Saints, bunch of signings. Hey, you know Max Unger, that shocking retirement last week. Well, they immediately went out and got Nick Easton. He is a center from Minnesota Vikings. Malcolm Brown's going to play in Sheldon Rankin's spot next year at defensive tackle. Mario Edwards is probably going to replace Jalil Okafor and team up with Davenport. And Latavius Murray will take the place of Mark Ingram. Sad to see Mark go. I'm sure he's going to have a great career over there in Baltimore. And how about your Nola Gold? This team just keeps on rolling. 49 points. That's a lot of points, people. And they're first place in the Major League Rugby, the MLR standings. They're at the top of the table. They're doing amazing things, and they went 49-11 against Houston. And we have two of their best. Cam Dolan playing on the U.S. national team, and one of the best ever from New Zealand, who's played in 3 World Cups himself, Kane Thompson. They're all coming up next on Primetime Sports. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports, and as you all know, this is my favorite time of the year. It's March Madness. The NCAA tournament starts this week, just in a couple days. In fact, tonight you have those quote-unquote play-in games. I don't call them play-in games. These are just the first games of the tournament to get into the 64. But, man, do I have a special treat for y'all, especially if you like the LSU Tigers. You're going to love this because This team, LSU, in its history has been to 4 Final Fours way back in the 30s. And then the ones you might remember the most if you're around my age, 1981, the best LSU team of all time, some say. 1986, they went to the Final Four, an underachieving 11 seed with a lot of talent that came through at the end. And 2006 was the last one, and we all know who coached that one because he's been on this show frequently. He was your basketball analyst right here. Of course, his name is John Brady. The other guest, well, hey, you know LSU's had a great history. Guys like Bob Pettit, Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Jackson, we all know the names, Pistol Pete Maravich. But right here, I have the one guy that's the all-time leading rebounder in LSU history, the second leading scorer. That means everybody in college basketball trails Pistol Pete. This is the only guy that trails him at LSU. His name is Duran Rudy Macklin, first-team All-American, SEC Player of the Year, captain of one of the great teams in LSU history. He was on this summer, but now we're going to talk about their experience in the Final Four and talk about this team and do they have a chance to duplicate what these two guys have done. Duran Rudy Macklin. When I was a kid growing up, I thought that was your full name. Duran Rudy Macklin. Because everybody, that's all they said. Duran is your real first name. Rudy's the nickname.
Yep.
And Macklin, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, John Brady, how you doing?
It's good to see you, my
We've
friend.
seen him before.
Yes, sir.
You doing all right, bro?
I'm doing wonderful.
Let's talk about this, Duran, Rudy Macklin. No, you had a show last night. It was on the SEC network, and it's a 30 for 30, which you see at ESPN. By the way, ESPN owns the SEC network, so they're all related. And it's an SEC story thing where you, in the past, I know you coached at Mississippi State. They had Will Clark and Rafael Palmeiro do Thunder and Lightning, and they do a great thing. This was called No Kin to Me. It was on last night. It's going to be on again tonight. We're going to tell you about that in a second. But kind of give me the background of the story.
Well, it was during the Final Four, and after we had lost to Indiana, President Ronald Reagan had got shot.
Right.
And so the consolation game, which is a game I really didn't want to play.
Yeah.
And so I basically fouled out on purpose. And there was a reporter there after the game that asked me a question that I thought was kind of silly. He said, "Did the shooting of the president affect your game?" But I was cordial in the beginning and said, "Well, no." I said I had a game to play.
Sure.
I said the most important game of my life, and I had to concentrate on that. He said, "Well, what do you mean? That's the president of the United States." I said, "Well, if he was kin to me, maybe I would have felt something." I said, "But since he wasn't kin to me, so I had a game to play."
Yeah.
He said, "I can't believe it. He's the president of the United States, and you act
He's
like
goading you.
Yeah, he was goading me.
goading you.
I'm not picking up on it, and I'm only
Right.
20 years old."
Sure.
And I said, "Hey, man, I said he's not kin to me, all right?"
Right.
And he wrote an article saying Rudy Macklin says the shooter of the president didn't matter to him because he's no kin to me.
That's ridiculous.
And so that's when the nightmare started with hate mail, hate calls from all over. And so when ESPN was talking about doing different programming, they wondered why there was no consolation game anymore. And then when they researched it, my name popped up all the time.
That's it.
And that was the reason why.
That's the reason why?
Yeah, that's how it started. Yeah.
Because, I grew up with the consolation game. That was,
Right.
to me, more basketball, the better. And I can't imagine having to play in it after you've lost the game to hopefully play in the biggest game of your life, which would be the championship. Y'all had, I remember that Indiana game. Take us back to that one real quick, because just don't say the whole thing, but y'all played Isaiah Thomas, and that was a great Bobby Knight coach team. And you had high hopes because LSU had, what was their winning streak during that season?
Well, 26 in a row.
26 in a row. I think you were 31-2 going into the SEC tournament, maybe.
Yes.
And then 31-3 going to the NCAA. But the disappointment of losing after having a double-digit lead, I remember in the first half against Indiana, and going into that game. What was your thought process going into that y'all could win it all?
Well, at the tip-off, I was kind of in shock because I didn't realize until after the tip-off who would actually be guarding me. Normally I would draw, defenses from somebody my height, maybe a little taller, but this time it was Landon Turner.
Oh, boy.
He was 6'10", had a wingspan about 7'1", and he could run. And that's one thing I didn't know, that he could run, because I'd always outrun people because I'm an old track guy.
Sure.
He was with me the whole way. And that was Bobby Knight's game plan. He said if he could put a bigger, stronger guy on me, and if I got by him, he had another bigger guy in Ray Tolbert, the 6'9", to take care of me. And so it kind of threw me off. And also the stitches were pulling in this broken finger I had. And
That's what
not
everybody knows
Yeah.
about that. Because, obviously that affects you. I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's real.
Yeah, it was real.
And it's going to affect your play. And I'm trying to pick your mindset when this happened, because you're dealing with that. You're the best player in the SEC that year, one of the very best in the country. and then you have that disappointment with the finger going down, and obviously you'll lose in Indiana, and then you're playing in this game nobody wants to play in on Monday. And I remember when this happened, because it was a Monday because when the president got shot, because they let us out of school. I just remember that vividly. And I remember I was thinking, okay, LSU gets to play at 5 o'clock Central Time. I'm going to go home and watch that game against Virginia, who had the Player of the Year, 3-time Player of the Year, Ralph Sampson. And then you really don't want to play. You just want to get out and go.
Oh man, it was like Ralph Sampson. He backed me up. He said he didn't want to play either.
Right.
And Coach Terry Holland said it was ridiculous for them to try to play the game. But to come from, my mind was on the loss the night before, the Saturday night. I wasn't thinking about a consolation game. I said, look, I told myself, when that ball tips up, I'm gonna find 5 fouls. I'm gonna get out of this game.
Take out my frustration some way.
The stitches were still in. Was throbbing all the time. I had to take Tylenols all the time. But I make no excuses. Landon Turner, he played a heck of a defensive ball game.
Sure.
And that was Bobby Knight's talking to the ex-Indiana coaches. That was his only game plan. He said, if I can shut Macklin down with these big guys, the rest of the team will fold. And so that was his game plan.
I'm going to tell you, when we went to the Final Four and UCLA beat us in the first game, I know the players didn't want to play it. Well, I didn't want to coach it. I didn't want to coach a consolation game. I would much rather just, we got there, we got beat, let's go home. To come back and have to coach a team that really doesn't want to play in a game like that, that's a difficult thing to do.
And that was the last year they did it, correct? 1981. It used to be a mainstay thing. They did it. That was the final year, 88-84. And you're trying to lose, and you still almost beat Virginia, who was a great team. Hey, going forward, because I'm going to get back to your run to the Final Four, but this LSU team in 2006, it just became a magical run. I was kind of reliving it because they're starting again this year, the same place you started in 2006, Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm going to let you take it from here and kind of go through your run to the Final Four.
Well, that whole thing, I think the most unique thing about that LSU team in 06 was where those top 6 players were from, and we talked about that. 4 from Baton Rouge, 1 from Denham Springs, 1 from St. Martinville. I mean, you're talking about South Louisiana having one of the best teams in the country, going to the Final Four and winning. And it's kind of like this team this year. We had different guys make big plays all down the stretch. Tasman Mitchell made big plays. Daryl Mitchell, Big Baby Davis made plays. We had Garrett Temple was the best defender in the country, or one of the best defenders in the country. And that Dale had some great teams. Rudy was part of Dale's, when Dale came on the scene, Rudy was a big part of that.
Yes, he was.
We started with Stromile Swift, gave us a chance to get credibility. But that Final Four run, the 48 hours we spent in Atlanta was almost as good as the 48 hours they spent there on their run. You beat #1 Duke, who's #1 in the country, #1 overall seed. We beat #4 Texas in a 48-hour stretch.
#4 in the country, not the 4th seed. #4 in the country.
Yeah, that's a pretty good run for LSU in 48 hours to beat those two teams in Atlanta in the regional final.
You're still beaming about it. I love it.
Oh, yeah, you should.
Hey, by the way, do you send a big gift basket to Daryl Mitchell every year? Because without that Rainbow 3 with 3.9 seconds, you're not even to the Sweet 16.
Daryl Mitchell sent that out on his Facebook or Twitter page or something, reliving that, wishing the LSU team good luck. He said, you got to make big plays, and that was certainly a big play.
Hey, Coach John Brady, I was an agent at that time, and I was at every single one of those 5 games. I wish I had made the trip to Indianapolis because I had to take a Winnebago because all the flights were sold out because the Florida fans took them from Atlanta. But I tell you what, those first 4 were just incredible. Even Iona, the first game, people don't talk about it. They gave you fits because they had a guard much like this Yale guy. And we're going to get into that in a second. But before we get to this LSU team, I want to talk about your run because you guys, you kind of climbed it up, man. 78, you'll start getting really good. 79, all of a sudden, man, this Kentucky team that won it all, y'all, or 78, the only team that they lost to was y'all. And then 79, you got to the Sweet 16. 1980, the Elite 8. Some say that might have been the greatest team ever at LSU. Dwayne Scales kind of tipped the scales a little bit the wrong way. And then 1981, the Final Four. But talk about that ascent with Dale Brown and those teams to get there.
Well, in 1976, when I first came, there were no banners. There probably may have been 300 or 400 people that came to the exhibition game we had before.
You're like, what?
And if it wasn't for the Tiger Band, we probably wouldn't have many people there at all. And so we lost to Athletes in Action by about almost 30 points, all those former pro players and college players. And so I was contemplating transferring. And my mom said, no, you made a commitment, you got to honor it. And she said, you never know, son, you may make the difference. And so after I pulled the 32 rebounds, we started on a roll. You know, we started 3 freshmen.
32 rebounds.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
So it lit a match across the country. And so the 3 freshmen, myself, Greg Cook, and Jody Holberg, you know, we kind of led the way. And that was Dale Brown's first winning season.
Yeah.
And so it opened the door for other main recruits to come because nobody would come. So when I came, and it kind of like, okay, if Rudy Macklin comes to LSU, then it must be okay. And so that's when it opened the door for the Dwayne Scales and Willie Sims and Ethan Martin. And so it made my role a little less, and I got double teamed less because I had better players with me.
How great is
you
that?
know, and so that helped out.
Yes, it did.
And so we marched on, and then after we beat Kentucky, they were #1. That gave us even more credibility. And then we marched on to the next year, and I broke my foot, of course.
Yes.
And that gave me that additional year. But losing to Louisville in '80.
Yeah, they won. Ended up winning the championship
and,
with your friend Darryl Griffin.
Yeah, my best friend. You
Right.
know, and so that climb was just there. You could see it coming.
Yeah.
And everybody's contemplating, you know, whether I was going to turn pro early. I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying. I got to get this national title. I wanted it badly. And so Dwayne Scales had departed under some controversy, and
Sure.
Coach Brown said, "Don't worry about it. We got Leonard Mitchell." And I said, "Oh, okay," because I had seen him play.
He was pretty good.
Oh, he's pretty doggone good.
We actually have a picture of Leonard
I was
Mitchell.
worried then,
Leonard Mitchell's 24 in that game,
Yeah.
and we have actually a picture from that Final Four. That's kind of
Oh,
funny.
when he told me that, I'm like, okay, well, we ready now. We can go. And so that senior year, we, man for man, we on paper, probably I may have been the biggest name coming out of high school, except for Leonard Mitchell. But we all played together as a team.
Yeah.
And as one. You know, I didn't have to shoot the ball 30 times. You know, I had Leonard, I had Howard,
There's
I had
Mitchell
Ethan,
right
you
there.
know. Yeah, so I had teammates
Ralph Sampson.
that can take up the slack. And so it worked out well.
Biggest regret. Like, I mean, we always have something that we got. I wish I could have done this, made that shot on the basketball court. Is there one thing that sticks out in your mind that, gosh, I wish I could have done that differently? I could have made that shot. Is there any one particular play that you remember?
I don't know if it's a play. I think my preparation for the Final Four that week, I would have probably done it differently. I think we were probably too cautious because of my hand.
Yeah.
Didn't practice as much.
Right.
Because the stitches were there and they were pulling, and they had to go redo them. You know, and Coach said, you need to just kind of take it easy. I wish I would have done the opposite.
Right.
You know, getting used to playing with this
That's
hand.
interesting. No, I hear you.
And for the mindset, you know, when you're injured like that, you have your mind and your injury have to kind of be on the same page and learn how to play with it. And it kind of threw me off a little bit. And then when I saw Landon Turner, they threw me off even more.
This guy's long.
This guy is long.
He got some reach.
I agree with that. I understand what he's saying. When we went to the Final Four in Indianapolis, they gave us a choice to stay downtown, and Florida was right in the middle of downtown, or stay out from town. I overcoached, stayed out of town.
Yeah.
I wish we'd experienced the whole Final Four right there in the middle of the city.
Experience it from now on.
Yeah.
You're doing that in your private life. Hey, going forward, let's talk about this team because that's what we're here to talk about. I'm going to start with you because you've been calling the games with Chris Blair. You've seen the progression from the beginning season to where they are now. Obviously, there's no Will Wade. We don't have to get in that factor. But as a team, how have they grown, and what's it going to take for them to advance to a Final Four like you guys did?
Well, I think this team can score it. They've got different guys who can score it at different times. They've shown that all year long, and they have improved. They're an explosive team offensively. They've got perimeter players that defenders can't stay in front of. They can drive by anybody, create plays for themselves, or create plays for other players. Really good at that. The difference that they're going to need to do in a NCAA tournament one-game shot is defend better for extended periods of time. They give up, we score 83, we give up 78. So there's going to be some teams that we're going to need to be able to guard in the half court for extended periods of time. But other than that, this team has all the weapons that are necessary to advance in the Final Four. Then it may come down to matchups. And there is the Will Wade factor not being there. And my opinion is sometimes when the head coach isn't there for a game, you can do well. But as time goes on, is there going to be any slippage take place because the head man's not there all the time?
Exactly.
What have you seen, Rudy?
Well, I've seen where they play down to the level of the bad teams, and when they play the good teams, they seem to play up. But Florida probably expose the weakness in them by slowing them down.
Yes.
You know, that Florida didn't want to get in a running match with them because they know they couldn't match up with them. And Florida had a way of slowing them down as well as Arkansas did that to them. And so they're going to have to learn to be a little more disciplined in the slowdown game and the half-court game, like Coach said, and defend better. But the matchups is the thing. They can drive by anybody. I mean, offensively, they have it, man. Smart, he's just a big game player. All right, and Waters, if he can limit his turnovers a little bit more.
He's turned it over a lot lately.
He's turned quite a bit lately. But we're going to see how they play out as far as the mental aspect of the game, because it's one and done when you get in that tournament.
One and done.
Yeah.
And the thing you say, it plays into, they could probably play with Duke a little better than maybe a Michigan State, who does slow it down some. Don't make no mistake, Izzo will run when it's there, but he'll slow it down. And I think about the matchups, because it's all about matchups, and I almost think they might have a better shot at Duke because they can play that ball. They have the athletes to go with Duke, and if the balls are falling, they can beat them. I mean, like, you've seen it, you did it. Like, nobody thought you could beat Duke, and I think it's the same situation. I think Michigan State, if the seeds hold out, might give more of a battle. I have a question for you particularly, because this has got to be maddening for you to watch this. LSU is a really, really good offensive rebounding team, but I haven't seen a team that rebounds so well on the offensive side that has just, in my opinion, especially lately, done so poor on the defensive side of rebounding. Why is that? Because Florida just killed them on their offensive side of the boards, and LSU couldn't get it. They kept giving second chance after second chance, but I've seen that a lot lately. What's the reason for that?
The three-point line. There are more three-point shots, and when you shoot from the perimeter that deep, the rebounds are longer.
Yeah.
All right, and so it's a guard rebound. Okay,
right.
Back then we played the mid-range game,
Yes,
and
right.
low post, and when most of the shots came within that mid-range, and the ball come off the rim, a little softer, and so we were able to rebound defensively better. But the guards are going to have to be in part of the rebound, because the rebounds are going to go longer.
If I ever get a job, I'm going to hire Rudy as assistant coach, but he knows what he's talking about.
Well,
the simple terminology is long shots make for long rebounds, so
Well,
guards have to
I
get in there
learned
and
from
do
one
it.
person and one person only about rebound, and that was Wes Unseld.
Wes Unseld,
Well, he's
my
a good
goodness,
one.
the
That's
best
what I learned
boxer
from.
outer of all time, the best long court pass.
That's my homeboy. Okay.
Another guy from the state of
Yeah,
Kentucky.
right, from Louisville. That's
Who
right.
played at Louisville, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of my first teams I fell in love with. Elvin Hayes, Wes Unseld, obviously Phil Chenier, Dandridge. You got a little Dave Bing, Greavy, Mike Reardon.
Oh, man, that's Washington
that was the
Bullets team.
Bullets,
Oh,
baby,
man.
76,
He's on that
77.
tangent.
Yeah, he's on the roll.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're wrapping up here, guys. I
Thank
love
you so
this.
much, man.
I had so much
Appreciate
fun.
it.
I got gifts. I got gifts.
Appreciate you.
I'm gonna get you also on a football ball. I think you signed my basketball. If you
did
did,
already.
we're gonna sign that basketball again. Find me a good space and make it clear. Durant, Rudy Macklin, every
want
way
it
you
all.
want to
You
do
want
it.
it all.
That's on LSU. I want to make it big and clear, and we're going to sign the basketball as well. But as you know, we give gifts on this show. I love it. I've got some stuff down here, and I'm going to invite y'all because I have tickets. I know you're going to be hopefully busy, and you won't be free on Saturday, John. That means because if you are free, that means LSU lost to Yale.
That's right.
But
I hope I'm not.
But if you aren't, they got
You're not either.
the Gold have a big game. The Nola Gold Rugby have a giant game, and I'm gonna get you tickets. If you can't come to this one, I'm gonna get you in the VIP because I got Bobby Abear, T-Bob Abear this week,
man.
Zach Street. We got all kind of people coming in. Dickie Brennan's coming in. We're gonna have all kind of people, but I want to get you enjoying this experience because I didn't know anything about rugby 3 months ago, and now I'm absolutely
I've been
in
following
love
those
with
guys, man. I'm like, man, I tell you, this is real.
it. They're real.
That's real.
These guys are real. I know you talked to them on the side over there.
Yeah, man. I've heard of those guys, man. Oh,
That's a
thank you.
gift certificate. When you come to New
Appreciate
Orleans,
it.
come enjoy that. It's Shades Del Shades Uptown. Just Google it up if you want directions.
All right.
And there you go.
Thank you so
This
much.
is Task Performance. I think you were here. You got
Nice
one
fabric.
last time, right?
Yeah, the fabric is just unique.
How-
Yeah, it's pretty
tell me
nice.
about it.
It's
Do you
right,
wear
nice
it?
and cool. Yeah.
Do you like
real
it?
Nice. Oh, I do.
All right, and you get one too. You got a whole closet full.
I love it.
You know what? I'm gonna up yours and we'll just double that up.
Give it
All
to
right,
you.
there you
Okay.
go.
That Rudy had mine. No, man, I got a couple.
Oh, okay.
John's
Thank
been
you.
here
All right, hey, well,
John's been here before. Rudy Macklin.
Double up,
privileged.
man.
One of the greatest, and I mean greatest. It's an honor for him to have him come on this special Final Four episode. It's an honor for me because as a kid in high school, you look up to these guys, and he is right here. He was on last summer, but this is even more special with John Brady, another guy that's hit the promised land, 2 Final Four guys. Let's hope this year's version does it as well. Hey, we're going to talk more hoops at the end of the show because I have Seth Dunlap coming in from WWL. We're going to break down all the brackets. We're going to tell you who might be the sleepers, who are the teams to look out for, which number 1 or number 2 seed might be falling early. None of us really know. It's all speculation, but we're going to try. But right next, we have 2 of the best rugby players in the entire country and in the entire world. One of them has played in 3 World Cups from New Zealand. He played for Samoa, and he is playing with the Nola Gold. His name is Kane Thompson, and the other is one of the greatest athletes literally on this planet. His name is Cam Dolan. He's played in the World Cup, and he's about to play in his second this year. Coming up next, right here on Primetime Sports.
Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachaise, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachaise, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At the Mid-City Lanes, the home of rock and roll.
Embracing New Orleans soul with style in fashion wear from NolaShirts.com. Show off your love for one of America's unique cities with shirts, belts, and hats in a variety of colors and styles. NolaShirts.com proudly celebrates the culture and embodies the spirit and determination of people from the Crescent City. The tradition lives on at NolaShirts.com.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports, and boy, how much fun was that with 2 legends from LSU. One went to the Final Four in 1980 as the best player in the SEC, and the other went in 2006 as the head coach, of course, Rudy Macklin and John Brady. And we'll see how LSU does this year. They start this week against the Yale Bulldogs, as we talked about. We're going to switch sports for now. Don't worry, we're going to get your brackets all set up because my next guest after this is going to be Seth Dunlap from WWL Radio, and you know he knows what he's talking about. He played basketball his entire life, and he knows the tournament, and I've been on a couple of his shows this week talking about the same thing. So we'll help you fill out your brackets, but right now we're going to talk about the hottest team in New Orleans and, of course, the Gulf South region, and it's a sport that we're just getting familiar with down here in New Orleans and South Louisiana. It's called rugby. It's called the Nola Gold Rugby. You've seen me bring on the general manager, the coach, the owner, and several of the star players, but now we're bringing the big guys on, the guys that make it happen in the middle. They're big, strong, and fast. That's a combination you don't always get in rugby. You usually got the small, fast guys. You got the big guys in the middle in the scrum. But these are the guys that do it all. And I can't wait. Cam Dolan and Kane Thompson, they played in several World Cups between them. Kane's from New Zealand, played for Samoa in the World Cup. And Cam is a U.S. guy from Naples, Florida. Welcome to the show, my friend, Cam Dolan.
Yeah, that's right.
Kane Thompson.
Thank you.
How you doing, my man?
Very good, very good.
By the way, first of all, I got to throw this out. The Nola Gold are just on fire right now. They're 5-1. Their only loss, I think, was a kind of a little bit of a bad call, in my opinion. They could easily be 6-0. You've had to play for the U.S. national team. Yeah. You know, obviously the World Cup's coming up, so you've missed some of these games. But my first question before we even get into the team is, and I'm going to start with you. You're American. Why New Orleans? Why did you decide to come play here? You've been playing all over the world. Mm. You played in World Cups. So why'd you pick New Orleans?
Well, I spent a little time in Europe, and then last season with the MLR, I was in San Diego, and I kind of just want to get back home, get back to my roots, back to the South again. You know, I went to college in Atlanta, and you know, I'm just familiar with the South, and you know, I enjoy the lifestyle and the culture that comes with it.
Did you play for life? I mean,
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, I lived in Atlanta for 20 years.
Nice,
so
yeah, up in Marietta. Yeah, I had a great time there.
Nice.
Love Atlanta.
And obviously, you're from New Zealand. You've been playing for Samoa. I guess you have some roots there. But why did you, as an international guy, decide to come to the Deep South, particularly New Orleans?
I formed a relationship with Cam Falcon, who plays in New Orleans.
The owner's son.
Yeah, so I was going to come visit him. He said, put the boots on, come for another season. So it all started like that. We played a bit of rugby together in New Zealand, and that's how it all began.
Okay, well, give me your background, because in New Zealand it's a little different. I mean, I remember talking to you before, Cam, and I'll get to that, your prior sport. But Is New Zealand a sport where this is like one of the major sports? Because here in America, it's just starting to pick up a little bit. I know high schools, when I played high school, there was no rugby. I wish there was. But now that it's starting to be in high schools around New Orleans and around the country, what is it like in New Zealand?
Yeah, it's our number one sport. It's nation thrives on rugby, and it's like your NFL, your basketball. It's in the papers every day, and
it is the thing that leads the papers up. Now, did you get American football down there? I mean, I'm just curious.
We do. The time zone's a little bit different, but no, we have a lot of followers of American football, so it's pretty big in New Zealand too.
Well, ironically, I've had Con Foley on this show. He was obviously an Australian. He played in the Olympics, and I asked him the same question. I said, "Why New Orleans?" He said, "Because I'll follow the Saints. I love Drew Brees." I'm like, "Wow, great reason, I guess." Okay. But I'm just curious where it came from. Now, I remember talking to you when I first met you.
Yeah.
We were talking about your other sports. You obviously played football. You got the size. Yeah. What I was fascinated by was that you traveled on the roller hockey team.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had traveling roller hockey teams, and you said you did it for several years, from like 9 to 16. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think my first travel tournament, I think I was 6 years old, and
Jeez.
there's an ECHL team down in Estero, Florida called the Florida Everblades. I think they're an expansion team of the
I love that name, by the way.
Hurricanes.
The Florida Everblades.
Yeah, it's great. And we played for their juniors teams, and we would travel. We went to Des Moines, Iowa, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Pensacola. So I got to travel from a young age playing a sport, and building up camaraderie and have a lot of fun, and just that team culture, and striving to win, and then being on the road. It's something that kind of every athlete wants to do.
And tell me about your transition to rugby. How did that happen?
I've been playing football in high school, and a buddy of mine who was on the team had moved down there from New Jersey a year or two prior, and his dad started a rugby team for our high school, and he's like, "Hey, football season was over. He's like, hey, do you want to come out and try rugby?" And I was like, "I don't know anything about it, but sure." Went out and just fell in love with it from day one, and it's all been fun and games since then, really.
So you played in the World Cup in 2015.
Yeah.
You're going to play again in Japan, I'm assuming?
That's the plan. If I stay on the track I'm on, it should be no problem there.
Well, tell me what the track is. I'm confused.
Well, there's 33 man usually roster for the United States, and it gets cut down to 30 for the World Cup. And I've been fortunate enough to play in just about every game for the last 3 years. So.
Well, the word is, I think you're safe on the team. At least the people I've talked to up there.
Stay healthy, keep doing what I'm doing. I should be all right.
All right. Well, hey, you played in 3 of these things. I want to let people know. I mean, obviously, I was even kind of new to soccer. I know we had soccer. It was big when I was in high school, but I played the 3 main sports in America. But as far as World Cup rugby goes, is it as big? Like in New Zealand, would it be as big as soccer is as far as the World Cup? Because I was amazed how big it really is. And I know you played in 3 of these. What's it like for you?
Oh, it's massive. Yeah, the occasions you get to spend a lot more time together as a team. Your preparations, 3 months, and it's massive. The crowds all sells out. The atmosphere is amazing, and obviously, it's a whole different experience to Test match rugby.
It's like
anything can happen.
It's like an NFL football crowd, right? It's that big.
Yeah,
that's got to be unbelievable. Let me say this: you've been here. Massive, by the way, is a word I've learned that. If it's good rugby, that's what y'all use. The Americans, everybody, massive. But as far as this team, and I know you've been on a lot of teams. You've obviously played World Cup teams. What makes this team special? I saw a camaraderie early on, even before I even knew you guys. And I know all teams have some of that, but it just seems a little bit special. You got a good mix of local guys, national guys like Cam, and then international guys like yourself from South America, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa. What makes this special?
I suppose we've all come together for one cause. We've come from all around the world, and we've just formed a strong culture. We get along really well on and off the field, and that makes rugby a lot easier. When you're having fun, doing what you love.
Hey, winning is sexy too, right?
And when you're winning, it makes things a little bit easier. We had obviously the advantage of winning those early games, and that can do a lot for morale in the team. And
so when you go out to the pub, it's a little better when you say we just won the game.
That's a hell of a lot. That's a hell of a lot better.
Look at the table right here, the standings. Nola sits at the top of the table. For those that don't know, you get 4 points for a win, and you see those bonus points. Well, Nola's got almost every one you can get. You get 4 for a try every time you get 1 point for every time you get 4 tries, which are touchdowns basically. And the only time they didn't get it was in the snow in Utah. And you also get 1 if you lose and play within 7. And they did that when they lost to New York.
I think they got 2 points.
They got 2 for that one?
Yeah, because they scored 4 tries and lost by 7 or less. So.
Do you expect to be in first place? I mean, be honest with me, because
to be honest with you, it's kind of tough. But we luckily we only had a couple guys missing. and the Canadian boys on the team, we had only 1 or 2 would go away at a time.
They explained that because they had to play for international reasons.
Yeah, so, when the international tournaments going on, recently we had the Americas Rugby Championships, which is Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, the U.S., and Canada.
Right.
And, of course, coincidentally, it happens right near the beginning of the season, and, a lot of teams lose a lot of players. So it's
tough. It's
tough. I think at one point, we had, 5 missing?
Yeah. We've had
5 starters.
We've had 6 missing at one time. Then Maupin got hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a couple injuries, and next thing you know, your
depleted.
Squad's a bit depleted, but with that said, the young guys and
they came through.
They bucked up and they showed out for the team, and to sit on top like that going into the heart of the season is great. Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to get this crowd to be big for this game, and I know we've had a 5-week layoff from New Orleans. The first 4 games were here. Went 3-1, almost 4-0, and I was just hoping for a split on the road. I knew all the guys that were going to be missing, but now that we're back at full strength, I mean, what do you think the limit for this team is, Kane?
Obviously, we're just taking one game at a time, but we want to be there come semi-final time, and anything can happen from there. But that's our aim at the moment.
So your guys in the backfield. I mean, listen, that's one of the strengths of this team. Talk about what Elof and Blewett and obviously Foley and obviously Scotty Gale and the rest of those guys are doing, because that makes your job a little bit easier. What makes them special?
Oh, it does. We play an attacking brand of rugby, so as us forwards up front, we're just trying to get some good ball for them. We give them the ball. It's great putting your head up from a scrum or a line out and looking down the field 50 metres and they're scoring under the post. It makes our job a lot easier. So, it's been great having those guys on the team. It's give them a bit of space and they do the rest.
So for the guy that has never seen rugby, you played the position lock. You can play a number of positions. When he was gone, you played the 8 position. You played back row. Compared to what the big guys do, and what the guys we just talked about, the backs do. Explain what your jobs, and I'm going to ask you both this question, kind of what your job is on the field.
Our job is pretty much to go forward, get us going forward in the close quarters. So like getting those running yards, or so to speak, and once we go forward, it makes the backs' jobs, the little fast ones out wide, it's job a lot easier. It opens up the space for them to score tries and get over the advantage line.
Funny thing about I'm listening to this, because if you'd said this about 8 weeks ago, I would have just been cueing the crickets. But now that I've been around it, watching it from the booth and calling it, I kind of get what you're talking about. I'm following you. But I'm gonna get the American version of this. Describe what you do on the field. I love that.
Well, I don't know. We kind of do a little bit of everything. Kane and my positions are a bit similar, yet they're still a bit different.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's kind of in the middle, gets go forward, kind of gets us
moving the pile.
Yeah, gets us moving to allow those speedy, fast guys to release on the edges. So, for the American viewer at home who isn't too familiar with it, those speedy, fast guys we're talking about are more like your wide receivers, your running backs, your defensive backs, guys that
get the glory.
Yeah, and then we got some bigger guys up front who are more like your offensive line, your D tackles, and then I guess if you were to compare it to a football position for us, we'd be kind of like a tight end outside linebacker.
Right, exactly.
Just a little bit of everything. Who knows? They might be in the middle, they might be on the edges. They kind of have to go with the flow depending on what game plan we have that week.
What makes your game special compared to other guys that play your position? And don't be
he takes the glory as well. That's his,
he takes that glory.
Yeah.
He
likes the glory as well. He's like a back as well.
There you go.
I'm a tall, rangy guy. I got a little bit of speed, so I'm kind of used on the edges. With my length and stuff. So.
And you're fast.
Yeah, a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy your size.
I'm getting a little bit long in the tooth, so.
You're 29, correct? He's 37.
Don't mention my age.
I don't think you'll have a problem in the pubs, okay? I don't think we can mention the age that you want. But you've been around. What made you special to be able to play in 3 World Cups? Honestly, don't be bashful about this, because you played in 3 World Cups. That's like playing in 3 Super Bowls, or maybe even times 2. How are you so good?
It's obviously a great privilege to put on the jersey for your country, but I play that position where I've in the second row, in control. I suppose I play a little bit of a different role to a lot of guys in the Samoan team. I control the line out and a lot of the set piece sort of stuff. So
the brains of the operation.
He's the brains of the operation. Is that a fact? Well, we have a tradition on this show that we sign the ball, and I started this last year at Rugby. We have obviously LSU balls. We have basketballs for our previous guests. You saw that with Rudy Macklin and John Brady. But I've been giving these to everybody. I usually give tickets now. I started that last week. I'm giving tickets to games. But you guys have the schedule. I'm just showing this to y'all because we have a big game. I say we because I work with the team and call the games. This Saturday, it's huge. We're trying to sell this thing out. It's going to be at Gold Stadium. It's where Shaw plays football, and it's a great place. You're going to love it. VIP is unbelievable. It's going to be this Saturday at 2 o'clock. And we also give gifts on the show. I'm not sure which one you pick, but this is, once you put this on, I'm telling you, feel how soft this is, honestly. Is that the one you picked?
No, this is.
That's his?
That's for Mr. Thompson.
Well, yours isn't quite as soft. I'm sorry. Oh. No, that's like the best thing. I started wearing that 5 or 6 years ago, and I've literally not worn any other workout stuff. And I upped the gift certificates for you guys because you guys, this is Shay's Deli Shay's because I happen to like you guys.
Thank you so much.
That's uptown. You need to get to that restaurant. I know you can bring one of your dates over there. I mean, you may not go out. I don't know. But here you go. Sign the ball and the thing, and we're going to get that thing. And hopefully when you come back, you'll be champions of the Major League Rugby, MLR. So congratulations to your success. It's been phenomenal. It's been my honor and pleasure to have you guys on. And we're going to have a big rush this week. We're going to have all kind of players on all kind of radio stations. And get out to the goal. Support this team. They deserve your support. These are world-class athletes. These aren't minor league athletes. These are the best from around the world. And once you see a game, you will be hooked. Trust me on this. Hey, we're not done yet with basketball. I told you I have my man Seth Dunlap from WWL. All 6-7 of him's coming in. We're going to talk about the brackets, the NCAA tournament. Do you like Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, Gonzaga? Or are you going for a lower seed? Who are you going to pick in that bracket? Are you going to get your bracket busted like they did last year when Virginia got beat for the first time against a 16 seed? It's all coming up next, right here on Primetime Sports. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports, and this is your bracket time. And we're going to rush through this because there's a lot to talk about. We already talked to John Brady and Rudy Macklin about LSU, so we're going to give them a break right now. We went pretty in-depth, so we're going to talk about what you want to do in this tournament. I have Seth Dunlap from WWL Radio. He loves basketball as much as I do, and in New Orleans, that's hard to find, but we found each other, brother. And I was on his 2-hour special on Sunday. We call it a pre-selection show because it was a morning show before the brackets were out. And then we talked a little bit last night on your show for an hour post-brackets. But, you know, the funny thing is I didn't even have it in front of me when we were talking. Just like now, we're going to just do this off the top of our head. But welcome to the show.
Hey, no, it's our favorite time of year. It is Christmas for a month. I got my dancing jacket on.
Yes, you do.
I got my
Black velvet, baby.
I did. I brought my dancing jacket this morning.
WWL, The Last Lap, you see it right there. That is our premier radio station in this town. And thank you. You're going to be having a rugby guest tonight, the player of the week, Tristan Blewett. But we're going to talk basketball. And when you look at this bracket right now, you see the 3 ACC teams as 1 seeds. You see the team that you grew up with, Gonzaga, as a 1 seed. And then you see 2 SEC and 2 Big Ten teams as the 2 seeds. What's the first thing that comes to your mind, and do you have any problems with this?
Top heavy. This is like all season long. This college basketball season has been very top heavy. You saw this in the preseason tournaments, non-conference tournaments, when you had Duke, Gonzaga, Virginia dominating, right? And we said, well, those 3 teams seem like they're better than everybody else. And then the second half of the season, we saw North Carolina. We saw North Carolina come, beat Duke a couple of times, and really, in my mind, look like the best team in college basketball, and they're a 1 seed. People in other conferences, a lot of SEC fans freaking out about the 3 1 seeds from the ACC, but I think it was deserved.
It's justified. I mean, I remember back in the 80s when I was a kid, or in college, I should say, they had 3 Big East teams, and they were the best teams. I mean, they were the best, and they deserved it, and it's the same here. Let's talk about that North Carolina team. Let's start with them. They've been in a couple finals recently. They won 1 and lost 1. They won in 17, or I think it was
17 that they
17
won.
They won. They lost, I believe, in 16 to Villanova the year before. But this Carolina team's different right here. They have 2 newer guys. One's a senior that was a transfer from Pitt, Cam Johnson, who I think is NBA ready. This guy's a phenomenal player. And then Kobe White is a freshman, and I got to see them live in Vegas in Thanksgiving, and I wasn't really too familiar with these guys, and I walked away being like, whoa, this team can run and they have a shot. They have a real shot.
Everybody's on Duke, and you should be. This is the most talented team in college basketball. But my pick is going to be North Carolina in this tournament. They have a great mix of veteran leadership with Cam Johnson, who's their leading scorer, and Luke May, who's played in 2 national championships before as a freshman and a sophomore. He's the heart and soul of that team. They have a national championship Hall of Fame coach in Roy Williams, and they have this incredible freshman in Colby White. They have a great mix here. They've got talent on the wings, on the guard position in the backcourt. They have a really physical front court, not Duke level, not LSU level there in the front court, but they have everything you need to win this time of the year. I am all on board Carolina here, getting back to the national championship game for the 3rd time in 4 years, which is, and you talk about all the talk beginning of the season about Duke and Michigan State and Gonzaga, and everybody really wasn't talking about Carolina.
No, they weren't.
And here we go. This time of year, we're talking about Carolina again.
They have the pieces. They have the pieces. Nasir Little is coming on strong. He's a McDonald's All-American. He was like the 5th guy. That's him right there. They have unsung guys. Kenny Williams is like the heart and soul of the team. He does the little things. And we talked about the 3 main guys. Luke May, I like the mix here. I like it. You're right. The stability of Luke May, who's been to 2 finals, and obviously the Cam Johnson's. I think Cam Johnson's an NBA player now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got that whole kind of package. He's better than some of the guys that have come out recently for Carolina, and he's got that long-range NBA shot. I think he's going to be good. But the ACC, one team that you've mentioned on your show that has been to now 4 of the last 6 Final Fours, and this is a trivia question if you want to stump people at home. It's the University of Virginia and the Cavaliers. And a little while ago, we talked about when LSU was eliminated, when Ralph Sampson, they were eliminated by Indiana in 1981, but they played in the last consolation game ever, which was the 3rd place game, and they lost to Ralph Sampson. Now Virginia is finally relevant again because they really weren't for 30, 40 years. And now, for the last 4 or 5 years, they've been one of the teams at the top of the stage, but they still can't seem to get past the Sweet 16.
Well, that's it. The 3 previous #1 seeds under Tony Bennett that you talked about, they haven't gotten past the Sweet 16. But this is all about Tony Bennett. Maybe the best coach, one of the 2-3 best coaches in college basketball right now. As a game day tactician, I think it's he and John Beilein, the 2 best right now. And he's loaded. It's tough for me to get on this Virginia bandwagon, frankly, because I've been on it before.
Me too.
All 3 times that they were #1 seeds before, I had them in the Final Four. All 3 times they didn't make it past the Sweet 16. We know what happened last year against UMBC, but this is a different team.
Yeah.
They have more offensive firepower and explosiveness. They can score from the outside. They have really athletic bigs, but we know the defense. This is all about defense with Virginia. Probably the Virginia and Texas Tech, the 2 best defenses in college basketball. And if they're going to win a title, if they're going to get to the Final Four, it's still going to be about that pack line Tony Bennett defense that's been working now since his father's days for about 20, 25 years.
DeAndre Hunter's lottery pick. The heart and soul of this team are those 2 guards, Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy. I mean, I'm just saying, these guys, I watched them against Virginia hit 18 of 23 against Syracuse. That matchup zone, which is really tough to get shots off on, even for outside. They hit 18 of 25 of the game, but they hit 18 of their first 23. That's hard to do in your backyard. And they did it against the Syracuse defense. This team is going to play that angle that, hey, listen, everybody's making fun of us from last year. Be angry. Everybody's picking kind of Tennessee in that bracket because Tennessee is a really nice, solid team. And we're going to go forward with that. Let's move on to Tennessee because they're not a 1, but they're a 2 in that side. Tennessee's sexy. They have all juniors and seniors starting, which is so rare, and I love it. And they have 2 first-team All-SEC players, Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield, who everybody's talking about. But I love the point guard, Jordan Bone is phenomenal to me, and this is a great mix of those 3 and some other guys.
Yeah, well, Bone might be his 2nd best point guard in the SEC next to Tremont Waters. But if you go back to Williams and Schofield, they are as good as any duo, I think, in college basketball. Maybe outside of Williamson and R.J. Barrett.
But big guys, big man duo.
Well, and you talked about the veteran leadership here, and the fact that this team is dominated by upperclassmen. It's rare in college basketball, but when it comes this time, when it comes tournament time, when it comes March, this is what you need to win. This is what you see the teams that usually advance far in this tournament. They are usually senior laden. Not always. We've seen some freshmen, the one-and-done dominated teams with Kentucky and Duke in the past advance, but what did Villanova have when they won their 2 titles? Both years, they were dominated by senior veteran leadership.
Right.
Same thing with Virginia this year. Michigan State's a senior-laden team. And you have Tennessee. I love Tennessee in this bracket. I'm not paying attention one bit to that loss in the SEC championship. It cost them a 1 seed, maybe, but maybe not if you look at what happened to Michigan State, because if they didn't move up, it's hard for me to believe the committee was actually going to move Tennessee up. I love Tennessee in this bracket. The one thing that concerns me here is Rick Barnes. He has underperformed his seed line in the NCAA tournament.
We just talked about that with John Brady. John Brady took him out when they were 2.
Yep. So they've underperformed their seed line, but it's in that bracket, which I believe is the weakest region from top to bottom. I bet it's Virginia and Tennessee here, and you get to that moment. Yeah. And I just wonder
I like
here,
Tennessee in this one too.
If the senior leadership on this team, and you have Schofield, that reminds me so much. I think we talked about this before. It reminds me so much of Giannis, right? It reminds me so much. He plays with the emotion and physicality that Giannis does a little bit.
Yeah, but not
smaller
the leaps,
than that.
But
Not the leaps.
But he's
no, I mean
physical.
nobody's. I mean he's not in the NBA for a reason.
He's a cross
now.
between Giannis and Karl Malone. Let's go there.
Wow, Giannis and Karl Malone.
Put them together, you got Admiral Schofield.
Yeah.
By the way, you see the graphic says first and second team. That's because that's last year. Make no mistake, these are both first team all SEC players this season. That was preseason, and last year they were first and second.
Who do you think's a better player on the next level?
That's very interesting because
Yeah.
Grant might be a little undersized. Schofield can hit the jumper better. I think they're both going to be very good in the NBA. I think they're going to be, very good. Not meaning stars. I don't think either one's going to be a star. I think they're going to be good NBA players for a long time. He unfortunately, he reminds me more of Corliss Williams than Grant Williams does because he's a little bit. He can score. He's a better college player because he can dominate. He's going to be tougher to him to do all this in the NBA. But moving forward, because we have a lot to talk about. The other number 1 seed we haven't gotten to, besides Duke, is Gonzaga. So let's go there right now. Gonzaga is a team that I like because they've been so close. I know you're a Zag fan, but I like the fact that they check all the boxes, man. They have that mix of really athletic guys like Norvell. Obviously, you also have the big guys.
Rui
that can do
Hachimura,
it.
yeah.
And you also have the guard leadership in Josh Perkins, but you've also had the taste of being close and not getting it done. And they are playing with a chip on their shoulder. And a lot of people think that small conference, they should have been a 2 seed because of that. What are your thoughts?
Well, they have all, like you just said, they have all the tools. They have a Kuzi finalist with Josh Perkins at point guard. They have a lottery pick with Rui Hachimura. They have Brandon Clark, who's leading the country in field goal percentage, was the defensive player and newcomer of the year in the WCC.
Pretty good players.
Hall of Fame coach here. The one part that scares me, I guess we differed on this because we talked about it on my show last night, is that bracket. There's a lot of pitfalls there and a lot of different styles they're going to have to go through. They're a 1 seed, should get by that first game. Then they could play Syracuse, Florida State, and Michigan on their way to a Final Four. Now I understand that it doesn't always happen like that. The seeds don't always get through like chalk, but that's murderer's row in my mind.
So you talk about Michigan. What makes Michigan so good? Because they always outperform their seed, unlike what you've seen Rick Barnes do. They seem to do better than people expect.
2 words, John Beilein.
Good call.
College basketball this time of year is about coaches. If you have coaches that can make in-game adjustments like Barnes, like Tony Bennett, like Mark Few, you're going to advance.
Okay, but they got beat by another coach 3 times. Tom Izzo. Does that not concern you? Let's talk about Tom Izzo because they're missing Josh Langdale, who is one of their 2 key players. He's out. But he's a junior just like Cassius Winston is. Can Cassius Winston and a bevy of complement players like Nick Ward you see there, can they get it done in their region because they've got to deal with Duke and possibly even LSU?
Well, they're the one team that won their regular season and conference tournament, and I think they're the kryptonite for LSU. When you have a guy like Cassius Winston who's shooting 41% from 3, who can score off the dribble, I don't like that matchup if it happens for LSU in the Sweet 16.
All right, does this scare you about Duke? 41% of ESPN's people are picking them. That means the $6 million brackets that they've had, 41% are picking them, which means I'll never do that. But the fact is this. They shoot out of 353 teams, they're around 320 in 3-point field goal percentage. That's awful because in the tournament, you have to be able to make threes because teams can sometimes outscore you, a la LSU if it gets there. You got 45 seconds. Does this scare you at all?
No, it doesn't. Not when you have Zion, not when you have Barrett, and not when you have Coach K. This is the most talented team in college basketball. It doesn't always happen when the most talented teams win. That's what makes this tournament spectacular. They are the favorites for a reason. They should be the favorites, and I think they're a coin flip to win it all in my mind.
They are a coin flip, but I'll take the field. If you give me the field, I'll take it. But Duke is a great team, and I do appreciate excellence, just like I appreciate you, because you are excellent. I want to thank you once again for coming on this show, short notice. And, hey, love your rugby, please. Everybody, love your rugby. First place Nola Gold, 5-1. Get out to Gold Stadium this weekend. They deserve your support. Check it out. Call 50 Rugby and get those tickets. But I got a gift certificate for you, Shays de la Shays. I'll even top that and give you another one of those. And also, Task Performance. You like this brand?
The one that you gave me before, I wear a lot.
You love it.
Say that. I love it. Love this shirt.
Task Performance, baby. Get on it. Hey, we want to thank Will. We want to thank WLE. We want to thank CST, Naila, Lexi, Redhead Tsunami, and Hunter. Thank you all. We love you. We'll see you next week. March Madness Sweet 16 show coming up next week.